Welcome to Domain 1, Section 1.8, AI Policy Development. In this session, we will look at why corporate policies matter, the key considerations that make an AI policy succeed, the standard components that belong inside one, and what it really means to use AI responsibly. Why does this matter beyond the exam? A well-built AI policy is the backbone that keeps everyone's behavior consistent and aligned with the organization's values. Understanding its anatomy lets you judge whether your own organization's policy is complete or full of holes, and it helps you push responsible AI from a slogan on a wall to something people actually practice. Let's start with why policies exist at all. A corporate policy is one of the main tools an organization uses to set the rules and guidelines for a given activity. Policies make decisions easier, keep criteria consistent, align employees, communicate strategy, and signal the company's values to customers. For AI specifically, the organization needs a policy that clearly sets out the principles, criteria, and rules governing how employees behave when using AI. Several considerations decide whether that policy actually works. And the first is senior management support. When leaders visibly commit to defining, communicating, and enforcing the policy, adoption across the organization rises, and that support should be stated plainly inside the document itself. The second consideration is strategic alignment, making sure the policy fits the organization's objectives, culture, and regulatory obligations, so AI use feels natural rather than imposed. The considerations continue. Clarity and consistency mean the policy follows the same good practices as every other policy and is written plainly enough for everyone to understand. Feedback and consensus mean circulating a draft to stakeholders so concerns are addressed and buy-in is built. Communication and training mean rolling the final policy out with a real plan, repeating the key points more than once so they sink in. Compliance means monitoring adherence regularly as the technology evolves. And periodic review means revisiting the policy at least once a year or after any major change or new regulation. Now let's open up the policy and look at its standard components. It begins with an introduction that explains why the policy exists and shows senior management's backing and its link to corporate strategy. It includes a glossary, so AI terms and acronyms are clearly defined and confusion is reduced. And it states a purpose, laying out the principles and guidelines for the responsible, safe, and ethical use of AI. The components continue with scope and principles. The scope defines exactly where the policy applies, including which departments are covered, and, importantly, whether it binds only employees or also vendors, suppliers, and contributors. The principles section is the heart of the document. It sets out the authorized uses of AI, including which uses are prohibited, which need prior approval, and which are freely allowed. It also covers responsible use, transparency of decisions, fairness and bias, third-party considerations, governance and supervision, training and awareness, security, compliance monitoring, and a record of when the policy was last reviewed. That principle of responsible use deserves a closer look. Responsible AI means using AI ethically and in line with the organization's standards while avoiding harm to customers, third parties, and the organization itself. The stakes are high because irresponsible use can lead to reputational damage, lawsuits, regulatory fines, privacy violations, and lost trust from both employees and customers. Here is the gap that often trips organizations up. The desire to be responsible does not automatically translate into responsible practice on the ground. Closing that gap takes the right culture, plus genuine awareness and training, so employees actually understand the policy and what acceptable use looks like. It also helps to track the maturity of a responsible AI program over time, moving from little understanding and no documented processes through foundational policies and routine risk assessments, all the way to a mature state with deep education, broad stakeholder feedback, and continuous improvement across fairness, privacy, security, accuracy, oversight, transparency, and accountability. Let's bring it all together. Corporate policies align behavior and communicate values, and an AI policy does this for artificial intelligence. Its success rests on considerations like senior management support, strategic alignment, clarity, consensus, communication, compliance, and periodic review. Its components run from introduction, glossary, and purpose through scope to the all-important principles section. And at its core sits responsible use, which only becomes real through culture, training, and a maturing program. You now know how to read and build a complete AI policy. Every important topic and idea from this session is covered in the multiple choice questions on RooCloud.com. Before you move on to the next session, work through the chapter-wise questions there, because active recall is what turns this into exam-ready knowledge. Practice first, and then move forward with confidence. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next episode.